In the vast echoing chamber of the interstellar diplomatic hall, Jaewon Park stood motionless. Soft blue light filtered through crystalline windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor. Around him, representatives from 100 different alien civilizations whispered and shifted, their strange forms creating a living tapestry of galactic diversity. The Kaltaran King, a massive creature with skin like burnished copper and eyes that seemed to hold entire universes, approached the human delegation. His movement was slow, deliberate, each step sending subtle vibrations through the floor. Behind him, barely visible, stood a young woman who seemed to shrink into herself, her posture a mix of defiance and uncertainty. "Humans," the king's translator crackled, "we offer a diplomatic connection. My daughter Hyejin will be part of this arrangement." Whispers erupted around the chamber. Some aliens laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Others made clicking noises that suggested mockery. Hyejin's cheeks burned red, but she didn't look away. Her eyes, sharp and intelligent, scanned the room with a precision that seemed out of place with her apparent vulnerability. Jaewon stepped forward. He was neither tall nor particularly impressive by galactic standards. A simple human, dressed in the standard diplomatic gray, with dark hair cut short and eyes that revealed nothing. But something about his stance made the other delegates pause. "We accept," he said simply. More laughter followed. The Zorian delegates nudged each other, their tentacle-like appendages waving with what seemed like pure amusement. The Kree representatives chittered in their high-pitched language, obviously finding something hilarious about the entire situation. Hyejin was not a typical royal daughter. Where others might have looked embarrassed or defeated, she seemed calculating. Her fingers, long and slender, traced invisible patterns on her simple dress, a garment that looked more like a researcher's uniform than royal attire. The Kaltaran King continued, his voice a deep rumble that seemed to vibrate through everyone's bones. "She comes with no additional dowry, no special privileges. She is, how do humans say, a burden." More laughter. But Jaewon's expression didn't change. "Every connection has value," he responded, his voice calm and steady. Behind the diplomatic barriers, complex negotiations were happening. Humanity was still a relatively new member of the Galactic Council. They were considered young, naive, potentially dangerous, but not yet truly respected. This diplomatic arrangement was another test, another opportunity for older civilizations to demonstrate their superiority. Hyejin studied Jaewon. He wasn't looking at her with pity or amusement. His gaze was neutral, professional. Something in that simple observation made her straighten her spine slightly. The ceremony continued. Formal words were exchanged. Holographic documents flickered and dissolved. Seals were applied, connections were made. To most observers, this looked like a joke, a human accepting what was clearly meant to be an insulting diplomatic arrangement. But beneath the surface, something else was brewing. When Hyejin finally stood beside Jaewon, ready to be transferred to the human diplomatic vessel, she whispered almost inaudibly, "They think this is a punishment." Jaewon's lips twitched, the smallest hint of a smile. Sometimes what others see as a weakness is actually an opportunity. Around them, the galaxy watched. Alien eyes followed their every movement. Diplomatic channels buzzed with commentary and mockery. Humans were getting a princess nobody wanted from a civilization that clearly considered her disposable. But neither Hyejin nor Jaewon seemed bothered. They walked together, two figures against the massive, glittering backdrop of the diplomatic hall. Her steps were precise. His were measured. They moved not like a mismatched pair, but like two parts of something not yet understood. The first chapter of their story was just beginning. And nobody, not the laughing aliens, not the dismissive council members, not even the Kaltaran King himself, could have predicted what would come next. As they stepped onto the human vessel, leaving behind centuries of galactic politics and prejudice, only one thing was certain. This was not going to be a typical diplomatic exchange. The human research vessel hummed with quiet energy. Sleek white corridors stretched like veins through the ship, carrying Hee-jin toward her new reality. She carried nothing but a small data pad and a compact bag containing her few personal items. Jae-won introduced her to Dr. Kim, the lead research scientist. The lab was a marvel of clean design, holographic screens dancing with complex mathematical models and scientific equations. Researchers moved quietly, their focus intense and unwavering. "Welcome," Dr. Kim said, his tone neutral but not unwelcoming. Hye-jin's first interaction shocked everyone. She walked to a complex quantum simulation, running on the main screen, and immediately spotted 3 computational errors. Her finger moved quickly, tracing alternative calculation paths that made the existing model look primitive. "Your mathematical models are incorrect," she stated simply. The entire research team froze. Silence filled the laboratory. Dr. Kim's eyes widened, tracking her finger's precise movements across the holographic display. What looked like a diplomatic mistake was rapidly becoming something else entirely. Within days, Hye-jin integrated into the research team. She didn't seek attention or praise. She worked. Her mind processed information at speeds that made even advanced computer systems look slow. Complex theoretical physics that would take human researchers months to understand, she grasped in hours. The STEM quantum communication project, which had been stuck for years, suddenly began showing unprecedented progress. Her approach was different, not just intelligent but almost intuitively brilliant. Jae-won observed from a distance. He understood something the Galactic Council had missed. Potential isn't always about appearance or traditional expectations. Sometimes it hides in unexpected places. During team meetings, Hye-jin remained quiet. But when she spoke, her insights were razor-sharp. She didn't just solve problems, she reimagined entire computational frameworks. Her mind worked like a living algorithm, seeing connections others missed. One evening, working late in the lab, she explained a complex theoretical model to a junior researcher. Her explanation was so clear, so elegant, that the young scientist looked at her with pure admiration. "How do you see things so differently?" he asked. Hye-jin's response was simple. "Most people look. Few actually observe." The research vessel became her new world. She wasn't a princess anymore. Here she was a scientist, a researcher, someone with value defined by her mind, not her royal lineage or physical appearance. Jae-won watched her transformation with quiet satisfaction. The diplomatic arrangement that seemed like a joke was turning into something remarkable. Hye-jin wasn't just adapting to human systems, she was elevating them. Weeks passed. The quantum communication project, once considered nearly impossible, started showing breakthrough results. Other research teams became curious. How was this small human alien team achieving what massive galactic research centers couldn't? The answer was Hye-jin. Her genetic markers, considered undesirable in her home civilization, contained unique neural patterns that allowed extraordinary computational thinking. What the Kaltaran king saw as a flaw was actually an extraordinary, evolutionary advantage. During one critical simulation, she solved a quantum entanglement problem that had stumped researchers for decades. The solution was so elegant, so unexpected, that it would potentially revolutionize faster-than-light communication technologies. Dr. Kim called an emergency meeting. The entire research team gathered, watching Hye-jin explain her breakthrough. Her presentation was calm, methodical, no dramatic gestures, just pure, brilliant scientific explanation. "This changes everything," Dr. Kim muttered. Jae-won, listening quietly in the corner, allowed himself a small smile. The Galactic Council's mockery was about to transform into something very different. Hye-jin caught his eye. For a moment, something passed between them, a shared understanding that this was just the beginning. Outside the research vessel's windows, stars continued their silent dance, unaware that something extraordinary was brewing. A diplomatic mistake was turning into a scientific revolution. The research facility buzzed with an electric excitement. Hye-jin stood before a massive holographic display, her fingers dancing across quantum simulation models that seemed to breathe with living energy. Around her, scientists watched in absolute silence. 3 months had passed since her initial breakthrough. What started as a simple communication project had transformed into something far more significant. Her quantum protocols were unlike anything the scientific community had ever seen. "Impossible," muttered Dr. Kim, watching the data streams flow like liquid mathematics. But it was happening. Hyojin had discovered a way to create quantum communication channels that could transmit information across massive galactic distances instantaneously. No time delay. No signal degradation. Pure, perfect communication. The Galactic Council's monitoring stations began picking up strange signals. Advanced research teams from multiple civilizations started receiving encrypted data packets that defied current technological understanding. Something was changing. Jaewon watched from a control room, his face calm, but his eyes burning with quiet intensity. He understood what was happening before anyone else. This wasn't just a technological breakthrough. This was a fundamental shift in galactic communication. Hyojin's methods combined her unique genetic structure with human computational technologies. Where traditional scientists saw limitations, she saw possibilities. Her brain processed information, like a living quantum computer, finding pathways that seemed invisible to others. During one critical test, she transmitted a complex mathematical theorem across a distance of 3 light-years. The signal arrived perfect, unchanged, instantaneous. Previous attempts would have taken weeks, with significant information loss. Alien research teams began requesting data. Diplomatic channels that previously mocked the human-alien partnership now buzzed with desperate curiosity. What had they discovered? The breakthrough wasn't just technological, it was philosophical. It challenged everything known about information transmission, quantum mechanics, and interstellar communication. "We're rewriting the fundamental rules," Hyojin told Jaewon during a rare moment of personal conversation. Her voice held no pride, no arrogance, just a simple statement of fact. She saw the universe differently, not as a collection of fixed rules, but as a complex, adaptable system waiting to be understood. Research facilities across multiple star systems began studying her work. Some tried to replicate it. Others tried to understand it. But Hyojin's approach was unique, a perfect blend of her alien genetic structure and human technological innovation. The Kaltaran king, who had once considered her a diplomatic burden, now watched with growing unease. His daughter was becoming something he never anticipated, a scientific legend. During a critical demonstration, Hyojin transmitted a complete planetary database across a distance that would have previously required massive energy expenditure. The transmission was perfect, clean, instantaneous. Alien scientific communities were stunned. "How is this possible?" asked a Zorian research director, his tentacles trembling with a mixture of fear and excitement. Jaewon's response was simple. "We stopped looking at limitations and started seeing possibilities." The technological breakthrough wasn't just about communication. It represented a fundamental shift in understanding universal information transfer. Quantum mechanics would never be the same. Galactic research journals began publishing her work. Each paper was a masterpiece of scientific thinking, challenging established theories, opening new pathways of understanding. Hyojin remained unchanged by the growing fame. She continued working, her focus absolute, her mind constantly exploring new theoretical landscapes. The research vessel became a beacon of innovation. Scientists from multiple civilizations requested visits, hoping to understand the magic happening within its laboratories. But the true magic was Hyojin herself, a living example of how potential can hide in the most unexpected places. As star systems watched and waited, one thing became clear. Everything was about to change, and it would start with a simple quantum communication protocol created by a woman nobody had believed in. The universe held its breath, ready for transformation. The meridian cluster erupted in flames. Massive starships burned against the dark canvas of space, their nuclear drives creating brilliant explosions that looked like dying stars. The Kree Armada was losing ground against the unexpected invasion. Force. Hai-Jin stood in the human command center, her fingers moving across strategic holographic displays. Jae-won watched her, recognizing something profound was happening. "They're using quantum disruption tactics," she muttered, her eyes tracking multiple battle streams simultaneously. The conflict had begun suddenly. The Xeris Dominion, a massive militaristic civilization, had launched a surprise attack on multiple star systems. Their technology was advanced, their military precision terrifying. Entire planetary defense networks collapsed within hours. But Hai-Jin saw something others missed. Using her revolutionary communication protocols, she began mapping enemy movement patterns. Where traditional military strategists saw chaos, she saw mathematical precision. Each enemy ship movement became a predictable equation. "We can counter their attack," she told the human military commanders. Her strategy was unlike anything they had seen. Instead of direct confrontation, she proposed a network-based defense. Using quantum communication channels, human and allied ships could share information instantaneously, creating a living, breathing, defensive network. The first test came quickly. 3 Xeris battleships approached a critical human colony. Traditional defense would have meant massive casualties. But Hai-Jin's strategy transformed everything. Ships that seemed isolated suddenly moved with perfect coordination. Information transferred faster than enemy weapons could track. The Xeris attack collapsed within minutes. Jae-won realized they were witnessing something historic. This wasn't just a military defense. This was a fundamental reimagining of strategic warfare. Galactic Council emergency sessions became chaotic. Representatives from multiple civilizations watched in shock as humans and their small allied fleet began turning the tide of a war that seemed impossible to win. Hai-Jin's computational models predicted enemy movements with terrifying accuracy. Each Xeris attack was neutralized before it could fully develop. Their supposedly unpredictable military strategy became a readable mathematical formula in her hands. "She's doing the impossible," whispered a Zorian military analyst. The war entered its critical phase. The Xeris Dominion, realizing their technological advantage was gone, began throwing everything they had into the conflict. Entire planetary systems became battlegrounds. But Hai-Jin's quantum communication network made human and allied forces nearly invincible. They could coordinate, communicate, and respond faster than any known military system in galactic history. One critical battle near the Sigma Quadrant became legendary. Outnumbered 10-1, the human allied fleet not only survived, but completely destroyed the Xeris attack force. Their coordination was so perfect, it seemed almost supernatural. Jae-won understood the deeper implication. This wasn't just about winning a war. This was about proving humanity's potential. The diplomatic princess nobody wanted had become the key to saving multiple civilizations. As the conflict reached its final stages, Hai-Jin remained calm. Her calculations continued, her mind processing information at speeds that made advanced computer systems look primitive. The Xeris military leadership began to break. Their supposedly unbeatable strategy had been completely dismantled by a network of ships coordinated by a single tactical genius. When the final confrontation came, it was almost anticlimactic. The Xeris fleet, once considered unbeatable, collapsed under the weight of perfectly coordinated human-allied attacks. "We did it," Jae-won said quietly, watching the final battle streams. Hai-Jin's response was typical of her. "Mathematics always wins," she said simply. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. The diplomatic arrangement that was once a joke had saved multiple civilizations. The princess considered unattractive had become the most important strategic mind of her generation. The final diplomatic summit gathered representatives from 1,000 star systems. Crystal chandeliers hung from impossible heights, reflecting light across a chamber that seemed to breathe with galactic history. Hai-Jin stood beside Jae-won, no longer the uncertain princess but a legend. Her simple gray uniform carried more authority than the elaborate robes of alien diplomats surrounding her. The Kaltaran king, who once considered her a burden, now looked small, defeated. His copper-like skin seemed to have lost its shine, while his daughter radiated a quiet, unbreakable strength. The quantum communication network saved 17 planetary systems, announced the Galactic Council moderator. His voice carried a mixture of respect and barely hidden embarrassment. Diplomatic records would show how a single human-alien partnership transformed galactic understanding. What began as a mockery had become the most significant technological and military breakthrough in recent history. Yijin's quantum communication protocols were now standard across multiple civilizations. Her mathematical models had rewritten fundamental understanding of information transfer, strategic coordination, and interstellar communication. Representatives from civilizations that once laughed now approached her with desperate respect. Research teams begged for collaborative opportunities. Military strategists studied her every strategic movement. The Xeris Dominion, completely defeated, was being restructured. Their military leadership had been dismantled, their aggressive expansion stopped, and at the center of this transformation was Hyejin. Jaewon watched silently. He understood the deeper narrative. This was more than a military victory. This was a statement about potential, about looking beyond surface appearances. Your daughter saved multiple civilizations, he quietly told the Kaltaran king. The alien monarch said nothing. His silence spoke volumes. During the summit, Hyejin presented a comprehensive report. Her presentation was clinical, precise. She transformed complex military and technological achievements into clear, understandable mathematics. No drama, no ego. Just pure, brilliant information. Alien diplomats listened in complete silence. Her report detailed how quantum communication networks could prevent future conflicts, how sharing information instantly could transform diplomatic and military strategies, how understanding could replace confrontation. The Galactic Council, once a place of political maneuvering, now looked like a classroom. Learning from a teacher they had once dismissed. We misjudged humans, admitted a senior Zorian diplomat. We misjudged her. Technological displays showed her achievements. Quantum communication channels that could transmit information across impossible distances. Strategic models that predicted conflict with mathematical precision. A complete reimagining of interstellar communication. The diplomatic vessel that once carried her as a supposed burden was now a symbol of transformation. A museum was being planned, documenting her journey from a discarded royal daughter to a galactic strategic genius. Young researchers from multiple civilizations watched her with pure admiration. She represented something profound, the idea that potential has no standard shape, no conventional appearance. As the summit concluded, Hyejin turned to Jaewon. Her first genuine smile emerged, subtle, knowing. They finally understand, she said simply. Outside, stars continued their eternal dance, unaware that everything had changed. The galaxy would never be the same. A diplomatic mistake had become a revolution. The princess nobody wanted had become the strategist everybody needed. Transformation complete.